What's good, y'all? Welcome to Conversation Piece, your place to discover the hidden stories of Indianapolis through the perspectives of all of its wonderful people. My name is Patrick Armstrong. I am your host, and this is The Open Door, which is our monthly series where we literally open the door to the studio and sit down with community members to talk about whatever is on their hearts. If you want to learn more or you're interested in participating, go to conversationpeacepod.com and click on the open door, fill out the form, and maybe I'll see you here. Last but not least, shout out to Life in Indy and the team over there for sponsoring this segment. Now, let's get into it. My guest today is Mikey Levine.
It is Levine.
Levine! Mikey Levine.
You nailed it.
Thank you for coming to the show, man.
Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So we've been getting to know each other a little bit more here, but for anybody watching or listening right now who may not know who you are, do you mind sharing a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah. I was raised my whole life in Westwood, Indiana, so just north of Indianapolis. I, kind of got my foot in the door down here in the city, doing videography and photography and just like being in the creative community. And so, I started with that. I did that for like 7-8 years. And now it's led to, some business endeavors and now I'm doing my own music stuff. And so, there's a lot of topics to talk about.
Hell yeah, a man of many hats. Excited to learn a little bit more. So we got you here last minute. I appreciate you making the time, especially just sent out a message like, hey, I have a dropout and I need to fill a space. So I'm excited to have you here, but I also don't know what you might be here to talk about. So what do you want to talk about today, Mikey?
I mean, man, before the cameras were rolling, we were talking about a lot of basketball. We were talking about just kind of like our background. So, it's your podcast. Like where do you... I want to know where you want to take this, man. Like this is your thing, and I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess let me take it in this direction. We were talking a lot about our shared identities as adoptees.
Yeah.
And I am going to start with an apology. I apologize to your sister, Sammy, I don't remember connecting with you, but I have no doubt that we did. If you were a part of that early AAPI or the Asian adoptee group. So shout out to you. But something I've been unpacking a lot today because we've been recording a lot, and this is fresh on my mind, is this journey of like connecting to my identity. So just to give you a little bit of background, I grew up in rural Indiana, about an hour and a half north of here, and while I had a positive experience with my family, I also experienced a lot of things that caused me to reject my Asian identity, and I would not start to unpack that till I was 30. I'm 35 now, so I got a decade on you. But I am always interested in if people feel comfortable enough to share, like, we have a terminology in our community called coming to consciousness or coming out of the fog when you start to ask those questions. So if you feel comfortable enough and open, I'm wondering, like, have you had anything like that? Have you been connected to your culture? What's your journey with your identity been like?
Yeah, 100%. I'm an open book, man. So any questions you have, fire away. But growing up, I was adopted by two white parents, and we never had like a talk. We never had like a formal sit down. It was always just kind of like there. And I think having an adopted sister as well, who's also Asian, helped a lot. Like I never questioned, like, I think if I had like a white sibling, I might have had like an identity crisis, or I might have like kind of, started asking those questions.
Sure.
But with my sister being adopted as well, I never really like had that experience that I've heard some people do.
Sure.
But I do remember like specifically growing up, especially in, Hamilton County, there's not that much diversity.
Yeah.
And so I remember looking back and being like, I never even thought that I was like the Asian kid of the class, or I wasn't like anything but the other white kids. But, as I grew up and like started talking with some of my friend groups, it was more like, present that that's who I was. And I never even thought about it like that. So that was really interesting for me to like kind of have to sit with.
Sure. What has been... So when you start to have that realization that it's like, oh, maybe not that I'm different, but like the lived experience that I have is a little bit different than maybe everybody else that I see or who I'm friends with in my community, in my circle. Like, what does it feel like a sudden shift, or is it something that you start to try and kind of gradually pull at?
I think it's more of a gradual thing. Like, I think you just kind of digest it as it goes. And I think I'd love to know your experience during this, but I think the pandemic kind of like affected our culture a little
For
bit,
sure.
and like not a little bit. I don't want to downplay it, but that really kind of put everything into perspective of like being an Asian American
Sure.
during that time period. So yeah, I think like it comes and goes, and like as you have the time to like look back in retrospect on it, like yeah, I think you just keep on processing.
For sure. A lot of people in the adoptee community, specifically during the pandemic, because you're seeing a lot of violence happening to Asian people and Asian bodies in a lot of places, maybe not specifically here, but like everywhere. You see a groundswell of voices and people starting to ask these questions, myself included. Like, this was the time that I started to ask for the first time, like, what does it mean to navigate the world as Asian? I'm a parent now. And like, that was a conversation we had been having at the time. And like a movie prompted me to think about, like, I don't know how to I don't know how am I going to teach my kid to navigate the world this way when I don't know how to do that.
Wow.
And so like, I appreciate you sharing, because I think it's just in our two experiences, even though we were both adopted from Asian countries, grew up in the Midwest, in Indiana, wildly different experiences and connections and feelings and relationships to how we feel about ourselves and our identities. So I appreciate you sharing that, because I think a lot of times people have a singular idea of what it means to be an adopted person, to be an Asian person.
For sure.
Did you feel like you were in like that 2020, 2021 period, early COVID, like when you started to ask those questions or think about it a little bit differently? Did you feel like you could talk to other people about these things, or did you have to start finding community? Obviously your sister, but was there anyone else that you were able to like start to have those conversations with?
Yeah. To be honest, not really. I would say like the Asian community in Hamilton County isn't huge.
Sure.
It's not that big. And I think your social media and your presence has like really made me realize that there's more in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to like get more involved.
For sure.
Because that's something like, if people were to ask me like, oh, what's your favorite Vietnamese food? Like, I couldn't tell you. Like,
Yeah.
I really like haven't dipped into my culture more than like as much as I should. And so I do feel a little guilty about that as well.
I resonate heavily until last year, probably. I couldn't have told anybody what my favorite Korean dish was. And it's like, what I've struggled with, even though I've been doing this for the last 5 years, is I still struggle to connect to like Korean culture, and like to take that leap. And like, for me, I always describe it, it's like, here's the culture, here am I. And then in between, I'm like, if I can just jump this gap, I'll be good. I'll get over here. And every time I take the leap, whether it's food, cooking, language, other customs, whatever it might be, it's like I always fall short. I don't know if you've ever seen The Simpsons, but they have this episode where they jump the gorge, and it's like Homer's just like, he just keeps falling short. And that's how I feel a lot of times with that culture. However, I feel much more rooted in and connected to my Asian American identity, because I've lived a very Asian American lifestyle, in the sense that the way I define who I am is pretty antithetical or resistant to what broader or dominant definitions of that identity might mean. Gotcha. And so I appreciate you sharing, because what I like to do in conversation is get better context on my own life by understanding what other people, how they've navigated that.
Of course.
So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
When does basketball come into it for you?
So 2017, I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. I picked up a camera and I got an opportunity to go shoot for Red Bull.
Oh, okay.
I completely lied about my resume. I didn't know anything about cameras, but I got the opportunity. And so I was like, they were like, yeah, we'll fly you out to LA. You'll go across the country on tour. Like, come on. And I was like, I think 17 at the time, like under 18, like probably shouldn't have been like flying out randomly.
Sure.
But I did, and I got this portfolio of all these athletes, and I got this great experience. And for some reason, right when I got home, one of the biggest basketball trainers here in Indianapolis, shout out Joey Burton.
Shout out Joey Burton.
Shout out Joey. He was looking for a social media, like a photographer, and I just hit him up, and I had like a portfolio of athletes. And what I really respect about him was I didn't get to just jump straight into the NBA players.
Sure.
I had to shoot like little kids, and then I had to like shoot like middle schoolers, and I had to work my way up instead of him just being like, here, like here's the keys to the biggest athletes. But I finally made it there, and I started building relationships with these players, and that was like a huge turning point in my life, because I guess if we wanted to skip a few years, then it ended up me being able to like shoot my friend's draft party, getting drafted to the Mavs in 2020. Then skip to now, we just owned a basketball court. So like a training facility.
It was who got drafted to the Mavs? Vince Edwards?
No, his name's Ty Terry. He was he was the first pick of the second round in 2020.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, I want to ask you, what did you learn about yourself shooting kids? Like trying to frame and capture that experience for them?
I mean, personally, it was very humbling, because like I was like, I just got off tour with Red Bull. I was 17, you know, I had an ego. I was like, why do I shoot these kids? Like, I want to go straight to the pros. Like, what's up? And it just, I don't know what his thought process was behind it. Maybe it was just test. Maybe it was whatever it was. It humbled me. And I think that is something that I've taken along. And, you know, as more photographers and videographers have approached me and asked me like, you know, my story and what they should do. I really try to emphasize that part, because like you can't ever stop learning in this field too. Like you can always learn more. And I think that applies to all these fields, like creative, whatever it is. And as soon as like you get an ego or you like start to plateau, like you're stuck, and it's not great.
So do you find yourself now in this mode? You said you did this now for like 7 or 8 years, and you're kind of, I mean, you're still in it, obviously, right?
A little bit. Yeah.
So do you find yourself in this, like, it's not like stale or stagnant, but it's like a moment of evolution, maybe? Like, are you in a growth mode right now?
Yeah, 100%. And I think like along the way, there have been moments where I had to check myself again and be like, humble yourself. Like with my friend Ty, Joey pulled me aside. We were shooting an NBA workout right after. He goes, hey man, I have this kid from Stanford. Like, can you stay after and shoot him? And I was like, no, like I don't why who is he? And he was like, he's getting compared to Trae Young, Steph Curry, like he can shoot. And I'm like, no. but I ended up doing it, and it worked out, and it was great. But yeah, so like along this process, there's always times where you're gonna have to check yourself and be like, hey, like put the ego aside, and you'll never know what's gonna come from it. And obviously a bunch of opportunities have come. So.
For sure. I love it. Well, speaking of basketball, like the city's on fire right now.
Yeah, 100%.
As of recording, we are up 2-1 in the finals. Hopefully the finals are over by the time this episode releases, but we'll see. Thinking about how like you've found connection to like specifically the sports community in the city. What is it like to see this like vibrancy happening right now, not only around the Pacers, but just around like the city itself and the people? Like,
oh my goodness.
I think you had a unique perspective on like the two disparate parts. Like, what does that look like from where you stand?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think it's amazing for the city, one. And like, if you were to ask 9 out of 10 people not from Indianapolis, they'd say we're like a poverty franchise.
Oh yeah, sure,
sure. You know what I mean? Like,
well, now it's a small market team.
Oh right, of course. Like, let's just switch the wording a little bit. But no, like I think it's great, and I think if you watch how we play, we are like a fundamentally sound. Like we play good basketball.
Yeah,
and that's so underrated. Like I think during regular season and all these other things, like people are like, oh, they're so boring. But we win, so.
We win, and you play a team style of basketball. And honestly, until you just said this, I hadn't really thought about it. But I'm like, I actually think that the way the Pacers play is reflective of the state that they play in. Like the brand of basketball they play is reflective of the brand of basketball that Indiana, like at every level, tries to play. Even down to our college teams. Like you have the Pacers have the pro version of this system. If you look at Purdue and you've looked at IU in the past, like we've been running the same place for the last like 30 years.
Oh yeah.
But it's all predicated on the unit as opposed to necessarily one guy.
100%.
And I love that because I think it reflects, you know, this idea that we all have to come together to make it happen.
Yeah.
And to win. And a lot of times we might take a lot of L's in order to get to that place.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's got me fired up.
It's been really cool to see the city like come together. And like, I mean, to be honest, I've seen a lot of people come out of the out of the woodworks that like didn't seem to be basketball fans.
For sure.
But now they're like diehard Pacers fans, which is like whatever. Like, you know what? Support the city.
100%.
So-
We'll always welcome in the new folks.
Right.
Yeah, I've got some friends who are like, I don't watch any basketball and I'm a huge Pacers fan. And I'm like, wait, what? But I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with it. We need all the good vibes that we can get.
Right.
All right. I want to ask you this. So I know you grew up in Westfield. Do you still live in Westfield?
Still live in Westfield.
Still live in Westfield. All right. It's a little bit north of Indy, but we're going to consider it Indy. I want to know, just like, especially being connected to the creative community, being a part of like what's happening in different pockets of the city. What does Indianapolis mean to you?
Oh, I mean, Indianapolis, there's a special place in my heart for it because growing up, like, where Westfield is, a lot of people consider that like the Hamilton County bubble. And growing up, there was this stigma. And like my parents told me growing up a lot, like, don't go to Indianapolis. It was always like, don't go out of that bubble, like blah, blah, don't go past 38th. Like
100%. Where I grew up, it was don't go to Chicago. And if you did go to anywhere that was north of there that had black people in it, you locked your doors. Like, I totally resonate.
And so, yeah, like, right when I graduated high school and, you know, I was driving and I finally like broke out of my shell and stepped into the creative community. That's honestly like where 99% of my friends and creatives, like that's where I've met them was Indianapolis. Like, so yeah, like it was weird having that transition as well from going from like a place that I was told growing up all the time, like, don't go down there, don't go down there. Then when I go down there, I'm like, what was all this? What was all this about? Like, it's great. Like, I don't feel unsafe. Like I used to like shoot around the circle all the time. Like, yeah, like I have some of my best memories down there.
I love it. As we get ready to wrap up, I want to let you know that we got to have you back because there's like 60 things that I want to ask you about that we're not going to have enough time to talk about.
No problem.
But I do want to ask you this before I ask our last question. I kicked this off with identity, and we got to the basketball piece of it. So when I was growing up, I had I had the great fortune and also maybe the misfortune of starting to play organized basketball when Yao Ming got drafted.
Oh.
And so I, while also a post player because I was 6 foot by the time I was basically this height in the 8th grade. And so I was a big man in rural Indiana. I took on that identity even though I didn't want it. And it kind of sucked. When I got to college and was at Purdue, I was hooping, playing at the co-rec, learned how to get outside the 3-point line and shoot the ball. Jeremy Lin came into the NBA and Linsanity happened, and I couldn't enjoy it because I was so traumatized by my experience as being Yao Ming. I'm bringing all this up because I just want to tie all of these things together. I have a friend, his name's Pranav Iyer, and he runs it's like a sports media outlet called Amazing that only covers Asian athletes.
Oh, cool.
It's awesome from the middle and high school level all the way up to the pro level. Like,
wow.
And like I've been able to watch his journey over the last few years, and it's like become huge. He just had shit on ESPN.
Wow.
Awesome. Like he's doing amazing work. What does it mean to you to see, as somebody who grew up in that bubble, to see more like Asian athletes step into the spotlight when it comes to professional sports, particularly basketball?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Like I think every Asian American can say that they've gotten the Yao Mings, they've gotten the Jeremy Lin. Like it's bound to happen when you step on a basketball court.
Sure.
Like it's just inevitable. And it's definitely racist, but it's inevitable
for sure.
but like somehow it got, you know, it's okay to do. But I know it's really cool, especially like there's a little dude on the Grizzlies right now. I think his name's Yuki or something, or UT. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's Yuki. Yeah,
Yuki. He's a baller.
Yes,
and he's like 5'9", which I think is like a great representation of like us because like Yao Ming is so unrealistic, like
for sure,
you know what I mean. And so that's huge. I mean, and then of course we have like your Purdue guy, we have Zach Edey.
They'd be on the same team too. I actually got to watch them at the preseason game.
You're right.
Yeah, and see them to team up was awesome. And I want to say there was an Asian family sitting in the front row in front of us, and to see kids be able to watch somebody like Zach or somebody like Yuki play at that level, it was really impactful to me.
100%. I can't even imagine. And I think like even, and I don't know your experience with it, but even in just like traditional like media, like mainstream media,
for sure,
like that we don't have that much representation,
for sure.
And so like seeing it in a basketball sense too, and I think a lot of people look at our ethnicity and they're like, yeah, like you guys aren't gonna like you're genetically just not gonna make it.
Sure.
And so seeing like Yuki and Zach do their thing, like it's just so cool, and I think it's huge for our community, and I think like it's inspiring the youth, like you saw, and so I think it's great
for sure. Mikey, appreciate you coming through, making the time. Definitely gonna have you back. We're definitely gonna get the hoops into. Last but not least, I know you got a lot going on, but for folks out there watching and listening, how do we support you? How do we follow you, support the music? Let us know how to do that going forward.
All right, sounds good. My Instagram is Mikey Levine, MikeyLevine, and then my music on all platforms is just Mikey with a period. So that's where you can find me.
Hey, Mikey with a period. You know what it is. Mikey, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Make sure you all check out Mikey's work. Everything linked in the show notes, and just get on the social medias. You know what it is. ConversationPiecePod.com for everything Conversation Piece. Shout out to Life in Indy for sponsoring this series. And until next time, I've been Patrick Armstrong, and this has been The Open Door. See y'all soon.